Yo, Super Fun Force, welcome back to the Beyblade Lab. Today in Takara Tomy, we have the Savior Valkyrie shot driver. Let's take a quick look at this. Boom, I'm gonna give you my initial impressions. We'll do some battles with my custom combos. And essentially what we have here is the shot driver. This is the main gimmick. Fused driver, you can see all that metal in there. And interestingly enough, it has 2 attack points on it. A lot of people don't seem to mention this. But a lot of the times, depending on how you set up your high mode, and basically when it's jumped up like this with the fully extended chamber here, then this will actually make more contact and attack than your energy layer. So it does have 2 hard hitting points there. And essentially, this is the low mode, which again allows a little bit more for the layer to make contact. What you can do with the dynamite layers is there's an armor piece here. In this case, you have 7, which has 4 contact points on one side and then 3 on the other, hence the name 7 armor, which gives a little bit more of an attack pattern as opposed to like a more even stamina pattern. And essentially what you do, and let me actually show this off really quick too. Here's the energy layer, which I think looks great. It is fused entirely with red plastic, so no hollowness there. And then these little mini rubber blades are supposed to break off and awaken. And then as you can see here, there are 2 little rubber stripes there that stick out, and then what's going to happen is once this breaks off and awakens, this section here will be able to make contact with those 2 little rubber pieces, and that'll be the strongest attack. And then the actual energy layer, which looks great, has a built-in spring giving the bound attack. So what that means is it lets the energy layer kind of take the hit and then recoil and attack back, in theory. Now I'm going to do the high mode. Now what you can do with dynamite layers is when you put the armor on top and then you put the chip underneath, then you get a high mode, which is going to make it so the driver that you put underneath, there'll be a huge gap here, but it'll be taller. Now the interesting thing to note is when you put it in high mode, this is the only way to actually attach old school like drivers to it, like from the GT, or excuse me, the forged discs. And you cannot use any chassis from sparking on your dynamite layers. These don't work, whether it's in high or low mode. But when you put this in high mode, you can use the regular forged discs. So keep that in mind. However, you will be, again, at a higher height. And what it's supposed to do in theory is when it's higher, it's supposed to increase attack potential. And essentially, sometimes, as you can see, what it'll do is it'll knock the other opponent down, have them scrape out and lose. However, on the flip side, a lot of times the opponent will just knock this over and will be able to win that way when it's lower. You know what I mean? So interesting in theory. So far hasn't been proven, but we'll see as the Dynamite series goes on if that actually comes more into play, right? So last thing about the driver before we get into some battles is, as you can see here, there's a spring and this chamber goes up and down. Now, mine doesn't seem to jump a lot, but I'm perfecting the technique. And so I think what happens is when you rip it hard, you increase the chances of these 2 little white areas here with the springs to open back up and then pop this down, and it's supposed to make it jump a little bit. And you don't want to launch it too high because I've been trying that, it hasn't been working, and I've almost punctured my stadium. I have like 2 little points here now. I don't want to ruin my stadium, so don't like launch it super high thinking that's going to make it pop up. I think it's more has to do with the shoot pull, and then as far as the battle, when it gets hit, you know, that'll probably trigger it a lot, like when it gets, you know, the shaking, the vibration, and getting hit more. So what I found is that when it's launched with the tip down, especially in the new standard tournament stadium, it likes to stay stable. Then when it gets hit a couple of times and the battle kind of finishes, it doesn't really get to jump. So that's kind of interesting. I think it has more success in older stadiums where it can move around a lot more easier. But, and you know, this is a bigger stadium, so it should. But the design, as we'll see here now, we'll push it down, is when you have this case here, the wide tip, it starts to move around a little bit more. But initially, before the battle starts, you're supposed to push it all the way in. And then as you can see now it has the sharp tip. And the sharp tip is what kind of keeps it a little bit more stable so it doesn't jump as easily. So in a sense, it's maybe designed to be a lot more of a last-ditch effort or a final attack before, you know, running out of stamina perhaps, and if it takes enough damage. But there you go. Now we're going to go ahead and do some battles, and then eventually I'm also going to test other layers on this. I think it'll be stronger and maybe better when we see what other combinations in the future exist. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we can put now from Dynamite Battle and way before, but it'll be interesting to see how future Dynamite releases might be able to best use this, and only time will tell to see if it's just a fun little gimmick or be competitive and powerful. Now, as far as the bound gimmick, we gotta show that one more time really quick, but let me quickly do low mode for you. I'm gonna go back to the regular mode. So once again, we're gonna take the armor, we're gonna flip it under like so. The 7 armor, we're gonna put this on. And the cool thing with Saber Valkyrie, Saibya, as they say in Japanese, is that because the chip has a spring, oh wow, I just flicked it right off. But yeah, it's supposed to be able to take a hit like a recoil and then make a counterattack. So in reality, I think it actually just absorbs a little bit more of an attack. And as you can see, that's why it's with the 2 teeth, by the way, that's the weakness. It only has 2 teeth, so very easy on this driver to be bursted. But I think usually what's gonna happen is it's gonna take a hit. It's gonna take a hit, and then it might not be able to attack back in time. And it has to be pretty fast, right? Like it has to be able to go boom and then hit again, you know, before the other bay just kind of glides away or something like that. But in reality, it's still really cool, it's really powerful. I think that the same goes with this energy layer. Probably will do better over time when you combine a different forge disc and a driver with it. One quick comparison I want to make, which is very interesting, is if we take a look at the previous Brave Valkyrie, they're almost identical. And in some ways, I would argue that this one is probably better. Now, this one's going to be a little bit heavier because of the GT chip and then, you know, the armor. So this one will have to get weight by either putting a single chassis, right? And then your forge disc, which the heaviest now only really being wheel for that setup. But at the same time, I mean, you can also use a double chassis, which also adds a significant amount of weight. But overall, the Dynamite bays are a little bit heavier. However, what's interesting to note is that when we look at the overall design, right, we have the signature trademark triple blades, right? And they basically did the same thing. This one they filled with the yellow rubber, but as you can see, they left a little bit of gap here, which is unfortunate, which I guess makes it a little bit weaker, right? Makes it lighter, a little bit hollow. This one, now they completely filled out with the red rubber. But what's interesting, as you can see here, is that on this, there is more rubber here versus which, you know, on this blade, it's just a straight plastic. However, the main contact points are probably going to be where this piece is, right? Like it says, when you awaken it, this blade hits harder because of those rubber 2 stripes right there. The interesting thing is on this then, this almost has the more powerful blade because the yellow is full rubber, full on. As you can see, almost the entire, like, what, 1/4 of this or something, versus look at just that double red piece right there. So, you know, this is definitely, I think, a welcome addition, but in reality, this might be a lot stronger. So just an interesting observation. Again, I'm still going to be testing with these. Valkyrie's been having some trouble being like a dominant and significant force into the, you know, last thing I want to talk about and not forget is the new string launcher that comes with it. It's only a right launcher, although I believe you can, yeah, flip it over to make it a left launcher. Now to me, a little bit of an inconvenience. I'd rather have 2 because obviously to like have to take it off, flip it over and reconfigure it is kind of a pain. So there's still some advantage to having some of these dual light launchers. However, you know, that being said, I might end up just getting a second one of these because this has the longest pull. So compared to all the currently available string launchers, the Savior Valkyrie one here has the most amount of pull to it, right? The most amount of winding here. But again, it also looks fantastic. It has the biggest kind of like shield piece here. The other ones are a little bit smaller. They have different designs. And I love the color scheme. It goes great. Actually here, I almost have like, yeah, actually a complete Savior Valkyrie color scheme right here, right? With the custom grips. But I mean, this is red. I got this red here and, you know, the blue and the gold. So it pretty much matches 100%. Now, they are releasing 3 new anime colored launchers. I know they have the the Louis one like this, the purple and white one that's going to come out, which matches, of course, Rage and stuff like that. And then they also have a red and black one, and then I think they have, I don't recall the colors of the third one, but there's a third one. Take a look out there for sure. And I guess I will definitely have to have 2 of these. I'll probably keep one in left spin mode since I have so many left spins now. But there you guys go, and I'll probably do a separate review on this launcher as well, on the setup and stuff like that. All right, guys, let's get in some test battles and see how it's doing. Yeah, see how dynamite knocks it off balance? It's causing it to scrape. Wow, big burst. You know, and the funny thing is I'm not getting the jump on my Savior so much. Savior Valkyrie. And the sword, high mode. Wow, it just flipped him over, it didn't even jump. But when the driver is retracted, it actually has pretty good stamina. Rage. Oh wow, it's kind of like a draw. I think overall though, the energy layer of Savior Valkyrie is actually pretty good against Rage. That's kind of weak. I am launching it pretty hard. I don't want to drop it from too high, because dropping it from too high, I've actually made some divots in my stadium. But I am ripping it pretty hard. Maybe I have to even just like shoot it harder, perhaps. So with a soft launch, you can keep the shot driver a little bit more in the sharp tip mode, I guess the stamina mode, as you can see a little bit more. Although I don't know if it'll be able to outspin Vanish on drift, right? Yeah, see, it's not going to be able to. Let me try one more. Pretty hard. Still no jump. Oh, knocked out. Yeah, still no jump. Interesting. All right, let's try Vanish against... We'll do Orbit Metal. Let's see how that works. Should allow Savior to move around a little bit more. Oh, that would look like a nice bound attack for sure. Because see, with Orbit Metal and ball-shaped drivers, they can kind of like tilt a little bit easier without scraping. But we'll see if it has what it takes to go up against the drift driver. Nope. All right, let's try like never, and let's just give it a standard stamina driver. No, so the problem with never is that it doesn't really have a good amount of friction here. It's supposed to, I think, but it doesn't really prevent it from sliding out. I also know that the Venture driver on this, even with the new gear, isn't as good either. It's almost just like having a charged metal. So that's interesting. So still nothing really powerful. I mean, I'll think of some more combos to see who else we can try for sure. Thanks so much for hanging out with Captain Gagamesta. Saber Valkyrie overall, I think it's really worth it. It's fun to have. It looks fantastic for sure. And I think over time there might be more possibilities of combinations with the shot driver and then combinations with this layer. And don't forget, when you take this chip out and you put it in another dynamite battle, you can turn that energy ring into a kind of like a recoil bound. So you might even make some cool combinations that way. All right, guys, let me know what you guys are doing so far with your Savior Valkyrie, what combinations you have and stuff like that with the shot driver, energy layer, and the chip. And in future videos, we're going to see some more Valkyrie power. All right, stay positive, stay thankful. Don't forget to say prayers, keep your faith, tell your loved ones all you love them, and like and subscribe. We'll see you guys again soon. Peace.